Srimat Swami Narasimhanandaji Maharaj, who hails from Kerala, but who is kind of been very active in the Northeast and in Calcutta. He is a prolific thinker, speaker, writer, and currently the editor of a 100-plus-year-old monthly magazine of Ramakrishna order called Prabuddha Bharata. Swami Narasimhanandaji Maharaj.
One question which most of us are asked, and most of you ask the other person when you meet someone, is what do you do? That's a question that tags on you to as a passive label. Now, I would be talking about a model of vibrancy which was lived and displayed and propagated by Swami Vivekananda. I would like to call it the Vivekananda Vibrancy Model, VVM if you may, because this is the age of acronyms. What is that passive tag which each one of us hold on to our entire lives? Some of us call ourselves educationists, some of us call ourselves scientists, accountants, most of us, and the rest of the humanity calls itself engineers. These passive tags and the passivity in general was something which Sri Ramakrishna and his illustrious disciple Swami Vivekananda stood against. Imagine yourself watching, or rather binge watching, one of your favorites web series. Now don't tell me you don't watch. Or those of you who have not yet become technologically updated, those of you still watch something called television. Imagine yourself watching these boxes. And imagine yourself getting caught into the vortex of entertainment, which has turned into an addiction these days. And forgetting that the control to that entertainment is in your very hands, either in the form of remote control, but anyway, who uses it, or in the form of mouse or the keyboard. You don't use it. And YouTube knows its way, and so after one episode is over in that season, you're directed to the next episode, and so on and so forth. And before you realize, you have wasted many hours of your valuable time, or which could have otherwise become valuable time, into seeing a production of enormous creativity to pass away your time, which talks volumes about the ingenuity of the people who produce that content, and equally talks volumes about your passivity. And if anything, Swamiji wanted us to be dynamic. He wanted us to use that remote control of our lives, which is in our hands. And he used to say, occasionally, quite often, he used to say that if there is a difference between a successful person and a not so successful person or an unsuccessful person, the difference is of a word he said is untranslatable: Shraddha. Shraddha, what it is, you can go on and on for hours into pages of wisdom, but it all boils down to faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the tradition you are born into, faith in your teachers, faith in the books which you have read, and so on. And that Shraddha we don't possess because of a big stumbling block, and that block is an untrained mind. Our minds are untrained, and as some scientists would like us to believe, there is a lot of research, our mind is not, or our brain system is not equipped to handle what we call multitasking. Because if you did not notice it, our brain was inherited from primates. Or to put it simply, we have all come from monkeys. So, our brain does exactly what monkeys do, jump from one branch to the other. And so it's not properly trained to do multitasking. What it instead does, when you're doing multitasking, is that it focuses on the particular task you're doing for that moment and then shifts to the next task in the other moment. So there is no multitasking happening, it is actually diverting. And so the switching between tasks, when it often happens too frequently, distracts you, takes your focus away, makes you less concentrated, and does not give a proper output. And so, I think one of the aims of this endeavor here today, and also one of the aims of a person of the youth in India and also elsewhere in the world, should be to harness all the potential, all the technology, all the wisdom and research that we have today with us, to take one to the path of complete focus. And focus to do what? Say, eat pizza. Now, how many of you, just think about it, how many of you eat pizza with full focus on the pizza that you are eating? No. I really want you to just ponder on that. And then you will understand that no, very few do, if at all. And that is because our mind is scattered. And that is where we need to understand first the biological aspect of our personality, then the psychological, and then the neurological aspect of the personality. Unfortunately, neither of these aspects are understood properly by us. We don't understand the biology, we don't understand the psychology, and very few have even an interest in neurology. And you would be surprised, as we had some experts earlier and who will be speaking after also today, you will be surprised how much of work has been done in neuroscience, which helps us to properly understand the workings of our mind and the body, and which actually equips us to excel in whatever it is that we do. And before going into that, much has been told about how science and technology is a deterrent, it's an obstacle to whatever we do. Much has been told how the smartphone makes us unsmart. Much has been told that if there were no Facebook, I would have been Albert Einstein almost. But let us remind ourselves that we have been having, as human beings, we have been having similar conversations about the wheel. We have been having similar conversations about electricity. Who amongst you will today deny the benefits of electricity? Who will say that, oh, the invention of wheel was a very, very wrong idea? No one will, right? Similarly, internet is rightfully, correctly termed as the second best industrial revolution ever. And don't be in this illusion or mistake that you are going to somehow escape internet. You cannot right now as we are speaking. There is no way you can escape internet or the cloud or artificial intelligence. So what is the way out? To be more intelligent. To use that brain, to use all your neural pathways, neural plasticity or not. To be more active, dynamic, not only physically, psychologically, neurologically, and of course ultimately spiritually. Because Swamiji famously said, religions of the world have become lifeless mockeries. It is the sapping away of life from these traditions which have become humdrums that have sapped away our power. And let us not allow that to happen. And if that has to happen, we should stop bickering about how science and technology has become a deterrent, but accept the reality that it is going to stay here forever. And become more intelligent and prove that it is the human beings who have created science and technology, not the other way around. So again, every time you go in front of your computer or the smartphone, every time you watch a video and become passive, you're becoming one step farther from your humanness, which to begin with created that entertainment content. That is a very important thing we need to understand. And to do that, first we need to train our mind. How do we need to train our mind? It's very simple. Make our mind efficient and effective so that whenever we say something to it, it just listens. Which of course, to some extent, Google Assistant also does. But our mind does not do. You just tell someone, what is the weather today? And they will say, oh, weather, you see, I have caught a cold, weather is like that. Google Assistant does not do that. She tells, today weather is, you are in Chennai, weather is this. But our minds are infinitely more powerful than that, yet somehow we have not harnessed the power of the mind. And that is what we need to do. That's exactly what we need to do. We have to get away from this passivity. And for that, another thing, along with this mind control or training of the mind, something else is required. Something which we find less and less nowadays. And that is an ideal. I'm sure that if a youth, okay, forget about youth, because I think youth is blamed a lot these days. If any of you here is asked, very few would be able to tell distinctly and clearly what their ideal of life is. Again, why? Because for most people, unlike Sulibele, is that how it is pronounced? Unlike him or his co-fellows at Yuva Brigade, for many of you, ideal has become something very passive. It's either some personality or some historical event or some belief system or faith tradition or religion. But that is not how ideal works. It is something, according to Swamiji at least, it is something for which you give up your life, you dedicate your energy and passion, and you have a vision about something. And that ideal is a dynamic ideal. It's something you do. Coming back to the question, what do you do? It's not just a passive name tag or a visiting card which you give that I am so-and-so in so-and-so company. And because we lack this self-effacing ideal, an ideal where you put your country first, your society first, or some other belief first, but not your body and mind, because we lack this ideal increasingly, that is why you see so much of conflict, so much of turmoil, lack of peace in this world. And how does this ideal come? It comes from a dream. It could be having a clean India. It could be feeding people who are underprivileged. Or it could be not so much higher ideal. It could be just that you understand the world better. But it should be a dream which is converted into action with full passion. And one sign that this is not happening in our country today is that whenever you meet a youth and ask, what do you do? Unfortunately, that is the question still we ask. They say we are preparing for a competitive examination. Particularly in the better part of India, there is the northern India whole, which is also called the cow belt. They say we are preparing for UPSC examination because we have to become IAS officers, you see. Some more people have figured out that in a private organization, after you get into the employment, you have to do all the work. In the government organization, before you get into employment, you have to do the work. After that, you don't need to. So, they are all so enamored by this. And that is again a question we need to ask. Just yesterday, somebody told me that, yeah, I'm finding it very difficult to get a job. He said, I asked him what you're doing, and he said, I'm seeking job. I asked him a rhetorical question. I don't know whether he understood its meaning. I asked him that, is job a thing to be sought after? Look around yourself and you will find that there are so many things which need to be done. And here comes the slip. Yeah. Huh? Yeah. Okay. It's yellow slip, not the pink slip. So, look around yourself and see so many things which can be fixed. So many things which can be done. A couple of months ago, I went from Lucknow to Ayodhya. And I am sure that this is a route everyone takes. It's a well-traveled route. And as our metabolic activities would demand, we became hungry. We were some monks. And there was not one restaurant decent enough, clean enough, where we could step in. Not one restaurant. And the entire city of Lucknow is enamored by this IAS job they want. Why can't you can start a restaurant? And food is such a business, it will not go out of fashion anytime. So this passive employment has to be given up in favor of dynamic entrepreneurship, which was again one of the ideas of Swami Vivekananda. He tells, take silk from here and sell it to people in the United States. I will tell. He talked about marketing in a totally different manner in those days, 1897. Take spices from India and sell in the United States. So this passivity which is all around us, it has to go. And neurologists have found that our brain is designed to deviate. There is a famous book by that name, Designed to Deviate. Our brain is in fact hardwired to find newer and newer options of doing things, thinking out of the box, as it was shown to you earlier this day. So today you have technology, you have networking thanks to Facebook and Zuckerberg. You have so many people at your call, so many likes and emojis. You have all you want. You have free educational content. Ask a person who was struggling in school 30 years ago or 40 years ago. There was no Khan Academy on the YouTube. You have so much of resources, so many resources. But still today we are talking about skill gap. Till today we are talking about how people are not trained for the industry. Why? Actually, what we need today is not skill fulfillment. We don't need to bridge skill gaps. What we need to bridge today is the motivational gap which every one of you has. It is the lack of belief that yes, I can do whatever I want. It is the lack of belief that a person with some phones can change the world of searching, which has been done by many people. That lack of belief creates a big vacuum, and if the vibrancy model of Swami Vivekananda tells us anything, it is this, that you need to believe, because this is being organized as part of the 125th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda's Chicago addresses. I would like to just draw your attention to one fact. In his paper on Hinduism, which he presented before the Parliament, World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago, 1893. Towards the end of the paper, he says that if there can be a universal religion, it should be a religion which will be free from, I'm paraphrasing him, which will be free from time and place, which will be independent of time and place, which will, he says, the God of that religion will be benevolent equally to everyone. And elsewhere, Swamiji says that as many people in this world, there should be so many religions. And that led me to think how it is so well connected with the concept of cloud in information technology. Today we say, my email is in cloud, my office files are in cloud, everything is in cloud, and I am cloudy, my mood is also cloudy. But Swami Vivekananda, though he did not use the word cloud, I prefer to call it cloud religion. Swami Vivekananda said that all concepts of religion which has been thought about by human beings and will ever come in the future should be accessible. I am again paraphrasing his thoughts. Accessible to anyone, just like we access the cloud. And that is what I think is cloud religion. And as Sulibale told, people who think ahead of their times are rarely understood. I think we have not understood this idea of Swamiji. That religion is not some boxed thinking. It is not some closed arena where you discuss some traditions and rituals and rites, etc. It is the ability to just go to www. I don't know what and access that belief system which is there for everyone. And here again we find another sign of the vibrancy, of the dynamism that Swami Vivekananda stood for. So I come back to the original question, what do you do? Or rather, what will you do? Thank you.
You saw Vivekananda vibrancy in action first in Sulibere, then the thoughts as to what makes it happen in Swami Narasimhanandaji's talk.